Hi, I'm Graeme Simsion and I'm delighted to be answering some questions for WHSmiths who have been fantastic supporters of both books here in the UK. I had no plans to write a sequel. In fact, my contracts specified that the second book would not be a sequel. That was just me saying, I'm done with Don and Rosie, romantic comedy shouldn't have sequels, the end. And I'd even drafted a second book when I decided that I wasn't done with Don Tillmam. I'd been gifted a comedic character and I thought there was a lot of opportunity to go further with him, to do more things. So I came back to Don and I broke that rule. I decided I would have a sequel to a romantic comedy that was not, as per Bridget Jones, continuing that story of an ongoing romance, but rather saying, all right, what is life after Happily Ever After really like? It was so much easier to write The Rosie Effect than The Rosie Project. Partly the toughest job in The Rosie Project, besides the fact it was my first book, so there's obviously doing something for the second time is going to be a lot easier than doing something for the first. But also the toughest thing in writing The Rosie Project was getting Don's voice right. The second toughest thing was getting the character of Rosie right. I didn't want it to be the so-called manic pixie dream girl. I wanted her to be somebody who had her own needs, her own desires, and her own reason for wanting to get involved with Don. Those things, plus the minor characters, were already in place when I started The Rosie Effect, so it made that job just so much easier. I've thought of doing a third book about Don Tillmam and Rosie as well, but I would like to give it sort of 7 years in literary time, which might be 5 years in real time. It's no spoiler to say, we know that the premise of The Rosie Effect is that Don's about to become a father. Well, guess what the book finishes with? So I'd like to leave that for maybe 7 years and come back and explore where they've got to. So my next book, in fact, I've got 2 books planned before the next Don and Rosie book. The next book is tentatively titled The Candle. It's about a relationship rekindled between an Australian woman and a British man, a relationship rekindled after 22 years of them living in different countries. And the book after that is written with my wife, Anne Buist, who's also an author, set on the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, the famous pilgrim's walk in France and Spain, written in alternating chapters from a man and woman's point of view, a middle-aged love story.